Hello everyone, I am Sakshi Godse from MEP's KBT COE College of Engineering. My today's topic is an RTSP protocol under the guidance of Dr. V.R. Sonawane sir. Here are the contents to be covered during the presentation. So let's begin with the introduction. So the RTSP stands for Real-Time Streaming Protocol. It is an application level protocol for the control of real-time streaming data. IEFT standard, which is an RFC 2326. It uses RTP as the underlying data delivery protocol and offer a VR-like control to user such as play, stop, pause, FF, and review, as well as random access to any part of media clip. Then it is an industry standard application level protocol. It is based on a framework for delivery and transmission of multicast data streams, multicast video, text, and audio. It works in conjunction with RTP to deliver streaming video, audio, and text content. It mainly maintains a server state during transmission like HTTP. Some of the features of RTSP protocols are client server client architecture, avoid shortfalls, limitations in HTTP. It provides a synchronization of events, enhancement of HTTP functions, real-time or near real-time systems, then internet standard device controls such as camera zoom remotely, then load balancing using bidirectional connections, and many more. RTCP streaming, RTSP and streaming. RTSP is the central protocol of streaming framework. Streaming means it is a process of playing a file while it is still downloading. The innovation of streaming is there is no need to entirely store it locally before playing. Then large audio and video files need not to be downloaded to your computer. Streaming media technology allows the client to see or hear the content in just a few seconds instead of waiting. Then streaming media will usually take the form of pre-store media, live broadcast media, live interactive media. So the pre-store media, it is an already being recorded and achieved somewhere. When the user wants to access it, we serve it as a stream. Next is an live broadcast media. The content is streamed as it proceeds straight to the user. And in the live interactive media, uh, such as an example of video conferencing, each user might produce their own stream and there isn't control by one broadcaster. So there are some transmission of stream which can be one to one, also known as point to point. In networking terms, we say it is an unicast. The stream travels bidirectionally from source to the user. Another is one to many, which is also known as multicast, where one stream will literally broadcast to many users. Next is an role of RTSP. The main role of RTSP is to controlling and processing the interactive control function such as pause or resume, fast forward, rewind is an important asset of streaming and RTSP take up this major role. Next, delivery mechanism are based slowly to RTP. Then RTSP is designed to be on top of RTP to both control and delivery real-time content. Then its implementation will be to take advantage of RTP improvement such as RTP header compression. So here we need to know the difference between RTP and RTSP to know that both have their own specific functions in streaming. So the important to distinguish between both is another transfer protocol. RTSP is used whenever users communicate with unicast server. RTSP allows two-way communication, that is, viewers can communicate with the streaming server to do things like rewind the movie, go to the chapter, etc. Then QuickTime automatically translates the viewer interaction with the non-screen movie control in the proper RTSP request. And lastly, RTP is an one-way protocol used to send live or stored streams from a server to the client. So here is an working of RTSP, where before client can establish a streaming session, it somehow has to get a session description from the web browser or web server using the HTTP protocol. According to the information in the session description, the client sends an RTSP setup request to the streaming server. Then the server informs the client with an OK, or we can say an acknowledgement response to indicate that stream has been prepared successfully. Then client start the streaming with the RTSP play request and end the streaming session with RTSP tear down request. So here are the some of the methods of an RTSP. We will see them one by one. First describes, it retrieves the description of a presentation. Next announce, it posts the description of an presentation. Then get parameter, retrieves the value of parameter. Next is an options, queries the available methods. Pause, streaming delivery is halted temporary. Then play, start sending data. Record, start receiving data. Redirect, inform to connect another server location. Setup, specify the transport mechanism. Set parameter, request to set the values of parameter. And tear down, stop the streaming delivery and free the resources. Uh, Here are the some of the applications of RTSP, such as streaming of multimedia via internet, then video conferencing and lectures, broadcasting of entertainment, remote digital editing, and voicemail. So the vulnerabilities of an RTSP. First is a vulnerability VU hash 329561, which states that real network Helix Universal Server vulnerable to buffer overflow when supplied on overly long string within the transport field of setup RTSP request. So the impact of such vulnerability is that attacker supplied code would be run with the privileges of the user running in Helix server. Next vulnerability is an note VU hash 934932, which states that the real networks media server RTSP protocol parsed buffer overflow. Its impact is a remote attacker can either execute the arbitrary code with privileges of the running server or cause it to crash. Next vulnerability is node VU hash 485057. It states that real network Helix Universal Server vulnerability to buffer overflow when supplied to overly long string for a described field, and its impact is an attacker may be able to execute arbitrary code on the vulnerable system. Next vulnerability note VU hash 460350. It states that apply QuickTime or Drawn streaming server fails to properly press describe request. Impact, an unauthenticated remote attacker could prevent legitimate user from accessing the stream content. So for the all the problems can be resolved by applying a patch from the vendors. Thank you very much.